What is up, y'all? So as we move into AI, people are gonna say that we're gonna get an productivity bump, right? So everyone's gonna be super productive, work's gonna be super efficient. I'm not so sure about that. I think this will bring on even more laziness and dependency on a topic, and you'll have less people who are garnered towards being specialized towards that subject matter. People are gonna be lazy. And we see this in college campuses. People are cheating left and right. They're depending on AI left and right. And I'm not gonna lie. When I was in university, I could have used AI. It could have helped me out a lot. A lot of these professors are fucking garbage. They just read off PowerPoint slides and they're just garbage. So the whole university thing has to get relooked at. And I hope one day, for such topics that don't need a bias, right? And I talk about only factual works like statistics, analysis, or whatever it is, there's robotics allowed. And there may be humans in the classrooms as well with the teacher assistants and stuff. But I would hope, for example, if you have a question, a robot could project the answer onto the screen and walk it with and work it through with you. And these robots would be able to stay in the classroom for an unlimited amount of time. They are not super busy. They are able to work with you and be flexible. I was wondering that we should, all countries should have this. A federal bonus from the government, from the federal government of whatever country you reside in, for how long you worked. So, for example, if you took no sick days at all, you would get a federal bonus for that year. And a bonus would be, it would incorporate a shit ton of money, shit ton of calculation stuff, depending on your wages and calculation and bonus and how the company's doing stuff like that. But also, you would get paid out on your sick days if they're not going to bump over to the next year, meaning they're not going to carry forward. You get paid off. I think it's hugely needed to give people a productivity bonus. And I'm not telling you to work to death like in the Japanese culture. It's crazy over there. They're super productive, but their job becomes their entire life. I'm not asking for that type of mentality. I'm asking for reward for what's been owed to us. See, in Canada, we moved from a manufacturing economy to a service based economy. We're mainly with banking, we're mainly with software, hardware, a little bit of hardware, a little bit of hardware here and there, but mainly social services, government bureaucracy, stuff like that. A service-based industry. There's still some manufacturing here. I'm not saying it's completely done with, but we move forward. That was because Mexico took a lot of the jobs. I'm not gonna lie, and China's been a huge competitor. So we adapted and we evolved. In Canada, they're saying we're having huge productivity problems because people are always quiet quitting. They're giving their least instead of their maximum. They're not giving pride in their companies. And this is what I mean. They're not carrying pride in their company. See, when I worked my first career job in my industry, I worked a couple of jobs before that, but in my industry, the jobs before that, I didn't give a fuck about. I was just there to collect the paycheck and leave. I didn't care. It is what it is. Give me my money, I'm gone. I didn't have nothing to do with the company, no pride, no nothing. But when I wanted to make a career for myself, what did I do? I locked in. I told them, thank you for giving me an opportunity. I know I'm a kid that comes from the ghettos. Thank you. I'm going to try my best. I was a superstar on my team and the entire department. Executives wanted to meet me and have meetings with me. They loved me. Unfortunately, I got sick, but they loved me. I was going hard, and I wanted there to be pride in the workplace. When I walk into my workplace, I want there to be treated as my second family. These people I spend time with, long time with. Even though we're not talking about religious stuff and like vacations and life and kids and stuff like that. We're talking about the company and that's our second work, our second mentality, our second household. These companies don't carry that pride. They make you sign a contract. They make you sign a contract, and you're most likely, in most cases, a disposable worker, unless you earn your keep. And most people don't get to earn their keep because they're highly demotivated. They're highly demotivated. And now women are in an uprise and they're saying, we're not here for infrastructure. We're not here to just make babies. We want love. The compassion is lost. In the workplace, barely any compassion. In the homes, barely any compassion. Lots of divorces. 60% divorce rate. 70% to 80% of them are initiated by women. Crazy. Crazy. So what's the point of this capitalistic world if we're not even holding up our people and we might face population collapse? What's the point of going hard? See, I carry pride in my country. I'm a genocide baby from Sri Lanka, but I'm also a citizen of Canada, born here, and I love this country a lot. I would die Canadian first, then Sri Lankan. That's how I've properly been assimilated. I want to put on for my country. And I believe that we should shift to a different type of democracy where I don't have a name for it yet, but it's a more respectful type of democracy where you're not disposable. And this isn't a bipartisan issue, this is a whole theocracy change. I believe I'm using the terminology right, forgive me if I'm not, but I want it like this. I want to change the average person into an active person. And I don't mean in a physical way, I mean in a sensational way as a citizen. I mean going out there and protesting for your rights, learning your rights, going out there and being a better person, going out there and volunteering, being active in your communities, helping the police, doing this, doing that, being active. More people are aligned with the streets, and the streets do have a justice. I come from the streets, I'm not arguing against the streets, but I do believe people can do better. A better system can be formed where we uplift one another. The current system is edged towards oligarchs, and they've been getting richer and richer and richer and richer. They've been loving the money in the system. This system makes you have a more of a right type society where you're based off your rights. The right to protest is huge. So I would like companies in first world countries to start it off because they can afford it. If the quarter that they're working in is a good quarter, meaning they've beat the earnings, they've done good, or it could be mandatory for all, whatever it is, we'll see how it goes. But the company beats earnings and they've done good. Let's say you're Nvidia, right? They've done good, they beat the earnings, whatever it is, they earn a day of protest. A day of protest. What are they going to protest? It's completely up to them. And sometimes the company will have an active voice and they'll be able to protest with you on these protests. A leadership type of program. So, for example, with the upcoming government change in America, we're going to have debates on abortion, debates on gay marriage, and a lot of debates about church and state. I'm not American, I'm Canadian. But I want this to be an active person's duty, even in the workplace where they are rewarded to think about this stuff. With my work family, where we can come together as a people, a community, a collective, and protest. So let's say, for example, I'm the CEO, and I tell them I finish the shareholder meeting, and I tell everyone, like I tell everyone at work through an email, you guys, we've been awarded 2 days of protest for this quarter. We're not all about super productivity. We have AI, we have robots, we have a system where most things are automated, right? But I want you guys to go out there and protest. So everyone comes together to the lunchroom or wherever it is. They write down what they're going to protest, whatever it is. They make their signs and stuff like that. And the company would pay for their Uber or their transportation or their bus, whatever, probably bus fare, to a certain place. Like other companies can Uber them out or whatever it is, or company vehicles, whatever it is. They go to these places and they start protesting. They start protesting for their rights. They start protesting for the war in Palestine, which was a huge issue, but many companies around the world were quiet on. But the people, the employees, should deserve a voice because they are citizens. They are citizens. And sometimes our politicians aren't enough. We need to see collective change as a people, as a society. So let me know what you think in the comments as we shift democracy back to the middle, in the middle spectrum of politics. Right now, I believe it's too far right, way with the capitalism and democracy and stuff like that. A lot of people are paying their way with lobbying. It is what it is. I believe we can push it back. We can push it back to the middle. And the middle is a safe haven. Believe in free will, free speech, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom of protest, as long as it's legal and not radicalized. Good stuff is on the way. We move to the society and people are warning about censorship. They're warning about this, they're warning about that. Guys, they are controlling the conversation, but sometimes the conversation that's being held in the media has to make a gigantic shift. And this politics talk, this talk of a different type of democracy, a political spectrum that has to shift back to the middle is needed, right? So I want there to be active companies, and we see these investments, these investment brokers like BlackRock, Vanguard, and all these companies, Blackstone. What they're doing is a different type of financial protest where they're buying up companies and pushing their initiatives. So in recent news, BlackRock and these companies have bought up coal mines in America, shut them down, and lobbied for green technology, like greener technology, solar farms, wind power, etc., electric vehicles, all of that stuff. Which sounds good. I'm a little bit here for it. I'm not gonna lie, but we are losing our competitive edge as a nation. We are losing our competitive edge as a nation in the West. I believe there should be coal mining, but it should be green coal mining. I don't fully agree with these completely shutting down these places that I don't agree with this stuff. You're taking tax revenue and stuff out of the system for the governments. I don't agree with this stuff. And I understand they have a corporate interest. It's not always a climate change interest. It's not always this, it's not always that. They have a corporate vested interest. But I believe as citizens, we should also be partaking in these interests. So please talk, discuss. There are other things we need to talk about, but I think this is a huge political change. And now I know I would give this off to like another CEO to talk about, but this doesn't have to be mandated by politicians. It could just be a good company rewarding its people with protest days that are paid for by the company. But I would hope the government, because we are a little bit moving government and corporatizations and globalization stuff like that. I would hope the government would subsidize the pay for those days just a little bit. I'm talking like maybe 30-40%. The corporation would pay the rest. We need to get people on the streets. We need to do active protesting. And we've seen the news, right? There's been a lot of conspiracies about George Soros and the left and the liberals. They're always protesting about this, whatever. And USA Aid has been paid people to protest people has paid people to protest before. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous, right? And I believe the people that are active, productive citizens, they should have more of a voice. They should be more active. They should be more political. They should be out there in the streets doing stuff. The voices of the few control the many, and this is a huge dilemma. It's a huge dilemma, and one day in society, we'll have political day or like some crazy thing, or for example, nationwide, because we have phones now and technology and internet. But one day it'll be nationwide and mandatory to have to be connected to the internet. Whenever there's an issue that needs like a lot of votes or whatever it is, everyone will get a text message. Everyone from every phone line will get a text message in that country, and they can vote yes, no, A, B, or C, whatever it is. Boom. Social cohesion. Moving forward. Why do we need a ballot box? Why do we need to wait 8 months for an election? We can get shit done now, collectively as a people. But we have to brood out the bots, brood out the fraud, brood out the bullshit. We'll get there. We'll push forward. I want you guys to have hope for the future and think politically what we can do as a people, a nation, a world, a people of God, what we can do to better the world. All right? We're going to face changes like climate change, population collapse. We've seen Japan lose almost a million people in their population just last year alone. More and more is going to happen in the world. It's going to get too hot for people. Their circadian rhythms are going to fail. They're going to start dying in their sleep left and right. It's going to get nasty. We need to move quick. So this has to get done quickly. All right, guys, thank you.